Welcome to the Think Factory podcast. We got one question for you. What keeps you up at night?
Welcome back to the Think Factory podcast powered by OGC Solutions. I'm Chris Santomassimo, one of the partners at OGC Solutions and the host of the podcast. And I'm really excited to be here today with Linda Woodward. As you could probably tell from some of the earlier recordings of the podcast, we really have a love for the printing industry and the packaging industry, where we have a lot of experience, and we love creating new relationships, making new friends. Linda Woodward is one of those new friends, and
Hi.
Welcome to the podcast.
Thank you so much.
Well, I really appreciate you coming out. So, Linda is the Senior Vice President of Strategic Solutions for Content Critical Solutions. Content Critical has facilities here in New Jersey, where we sit, as well as Florida and some other places. But what we're going to talk about today is, and this is a topic that we love a lot, which is how important print is as a medium for companies to market themselves, get in touch with consumers, and then in particular, what goes into that whole equation, knowing your customer, which Linda's an expert in all those areas.
Yes, I guess I am. After all these years, I've been in the print and mail industry going over 15 years now. Started out as just in transactional, specifically in the debt collection space, which has always been really tough.
That should be interesting, right?
Ooh, it's tough. It's been a tough road, back when there really was no regulation, but it's gotten so strict over the years. But it's also a good place to start because it's the strictest in security standards. It's the strictest in what you can communicate, how you communicate. But that opens you up to, once you know the strictest regulations, how else can you communicate, and how do you find the best ways to find those consumers that don't want to talk to you. So it opens you up to everything else in direct mail and other content critical information that has to be there, why it's so important, and really how do you get a consumer to speak with you, how do they want to speak with you, and everything else. So I'm always very fortunate to have started in that area.
Well, great job weaving in the name of the company into that discussion.
Well, it is. That's where it's part. It is. It's
course.
critical. It's critical information.
Well, so tell us a little bit about Content Critical Solutions. And you're relatively new to the company, but you're not at all new to the industry. Love to hear more about what you do and who you do it for.
So I started there on July 1st. But Content Critical Solutions has been around for many years, headquartered out of New Jersey and New York. We have facilities in New York and New Jersey and Florida. So we're really making a, good all up and down the East Coast, really making it very easy for us to balance out facilities and communications throughout the nation, balancing out that workload all through direct mail, electronic delivery, and well as print. Again, taking a full look at what the best balance is in a communication strategy for our clients. Big focus on insurance delivery through casualty claims and also tolling. Anything really to get to the consumer and how they need to be delivered to. So whether that's a direct mail product and whether that is that content critical piece of information, especially in the insurance industry, it's that piece. So a Florida delivery, we're balanced out between a northern climate and a southern climate. So we have that all balanced out. We also have union organizations so that we can meet the needs of a state organization versus anything else. So it's really a great organization to work with. I'm very proud and pleased to be there. Everybody there has been wonderful to work with, and we're really looking forward to growing our organization as well into new industries and new markets.
Yeah, it's funny when I talk to people outside the printing business about, how do you think you get your mail from the insurance company or from EasyPass or whomever's sending you a transactional print? And they either don't know, maybe they don't care that much, but they think that there's people, in a print room somewhere at the insurance company that puts that stuff together and throws it in the mail, but it's anything but those things.
Oh, yeah, they have no idea. I don't know, somebody in the basement of State Farm I always think that. Or when I've been to trade shows for the toll companies, even the states themselves, they don't know how it happens. Or they think, oh no, because they don't have a toll system anymore where they have to stop and pay the tolls, or they think that everybody has it on their phone. So I'm in Michigan where we don't have a toll system.
Oh, maybe I should move to Michigan.
Well, their roads aren't as great, but so when I explained to them that, it's still really important that you're using a print and mail company that's really versed in being able to do this and knows how to do it and can do it very easily, because when I drive through Texas, I don't have an account on my phone. You don't have no idea how to get to me. That's a lot of revenue on the table. So you need to make sure that you are working with a company who knows how to process the collections very well, and that company is using a print and mail vendor that is versed in it, knows how to do it appropriately, and can turn it around very quickly. Because the faster you can turn it around, the faster your revenues come in. And that's a lot of revenue left on the table. So you need to look at it holistically along with your partner. So it's all about seeing your customer or your citizen, the consumer, in a holistic view. It's not just about one medium. It's really about knowing your customer, who your audience is, what's your overall strategy. And I think people get so siloed into, well, I just email it. Well, great, but are you looking at your entire business picture? And that's where I think print communication really needs to be taken a look at in the bigger picture of things. And it gets lost in that. And I think if businesses really take a look, flip that as a communication strategy, they will be able to find that they are missing a lot on that. And if they put effort into it, they will find efficiencies in their processes. They will find quality in their processes, in their regulations, in their marketing strategy, and they will find a faster path to revenues.
That's a great point. And you made a similar point earlier when you said, in terms of knowing your customer, it's not like you're trying to sell perfume and you're trying to sell some consumer product that you want to get people excited about. You're trying to have a targeted communication to somebody who doesn't really want to get your communication sometimes because it's a bill, right?
Well, not all the time. Where I originally started from, yes, in the debt collection space, you do. But really, when I think about print, you really have to know your customer and your audience, not just a customer. So you have an audience, and you could have, I think of it in 3 tiers. I have an external customer who is a consumer. I have an internal customer or audience who is internal to my company. And I have another third-party internal audience, not internal, but could be a regulatory issue or compliance issue. So let's talk about our external audience, the consumer. Wants my information because this could be an insurance policy. This could be a life insurance policy. This could be homeowners insurance. This could be a claim that they made.
Well, you got me so focused on Easy Pass tolls that I was thinking immediately, do I really want to get your bill?
Yeah,
but it's important too.
You probably do, because what happens if you don't get that information? Or you don't get the information about that road being closed? You don't want to be stuck behind that. So it's a communication piece. It's not just necessarily about the print piece, it's the communication. So want to take the focus necessarily just off about the medium. It's starting with the communication and the best delivery of the medium. So externally, our audience, the first part is, who's your audience? It's the consumer. So how do we need to deliver that message? One, is it a handbook of their policy? Are you going to send that in an email? Nobody's going to read that. Text isn't going to do it. And then who is that audience? Are you sending this insurance policy to somebody in the older population? How are they going to get that? Is this an underserved population who doesn't necessarily have a computer or a bank account? How are they getting this information? How are they going to use it? Are you really thinking about that in your overall communication strategy plan? It's not just every day or every person that can use and utilize this. You need to think through who's your audience and exactly how are they going to use the message you're trying to send to them. How are they going to use your product or your service? How does that factor into your overall communication strategy? If it's a quick message such as your product is ready for pickup at Walgreens, great. That's probably a text. But do they want to get that text now 50 times a day? Do they want to get something that's 30 pages long that has critically important information that they want to hold on to and put into a safe, so if their house burns down, they can still get to it when there's no power? The power is going to be out for weeks because there's been a terrible flood or their house is burned down? You have to think about what it is you're delivering and what they're going to do with it before you just say, oh, send it all in an email they're not going to read, they're going to use. How are they going to do that? So you have your audience, my consumer, my citizen, what are they going to do with it and how are they going to use it? Then you have your audience of internal people in your business. What do my internal folks need? How am I going to use this information? Are my end people going to, how do I need to get this information? Did that address did the product get delivered to them? How am they going to use this? What are the analytics I need back from that? How can I use those analytics that piece of insurance policy never got opened? That claim never got delivered. The information, the address moved. Email might never get open, but you don't know if they moved. What happened with that? Where a firm address, a hard address, and a residence, you know that information. So what are you going to do with that information? Again, you need to be thinking who your audience is, what you're going to do with that information, and how you move on from there. In a business, how valuable is that information to you versus a consumer? I could have 5 addresses, email address. I might have 7. I know I personally have 5 or 6. I don't know, what do you want? I have one for shopping. I have one for looking up things I don't want anyone to know about. I have 3 from college that I never use. I have 7, a couple for my kids. I have one I use for my mom's billing. I have plenty, but I only have 1 home address.
Right.
What does a business use with that information and how are you utilizing it? What do you need to use? And in that internal data analytics, what are you going to use with that? So that's your second audience as I'm sitting here thinking about, I'm a business, I'm an insurance company, I'm a financial services company. What do I need to do with that information and how can I use it? Data is king, data is valuable. What is that value that I'm using not only to report and to streamline my processes? Because every time I have to send something, whether it's an email or a mail piece or a text, it costs. People don't want to think it costs, but it does. Emails and texts cost money as well.
Sure.
So how are you utilizing
Well,
that
then,
information?
like you said, sometimes the effectiveness, or a lot of times the effectiveness of those vehicles by themselves ain't so great because the emails get lost. Or
They do.
People get so many in a day that they miss them.
Oh, they are. Yes, consumer fatigue has long passed us. You work all day. The first thing you want to do when you get home is run right to your computer and answer, look at every single email and think that every single email that was sent to you was super important that you look at every day. It's not happening.
Yeah.
It's not happening. It's so proven because out of effectiveness, about 1% of emails that are sent to consumers, if they get through, which is about 0.25%, are actually opened.
Wow.
That's about the effectiveness of the emails if they get through.
But your medium, that is the print business, allows you to take advantage of the mail, the hard copy, and then maybe circle back to some of the electronic means to reinforce, right?
Yes.
Or to make the transaction happen.
Absolutely. So the print medium feels now important because the direct mail there's so much flexibility now that it's all unique to that individual. It can be based upon all the analytics coming to Linda Woodward. It's all personalized. So it's not just a general mailing of pizza coupons. It's directed specifically at me, to my wants, my needs, all of my data. And again, you've already gotten this data analytics that comes back to you, so you can put that direct mail piece together for her. You send her something specifically meant for her. She has that information, a mail piece, and then specifically statements and other information like that is actually being opened. It's held in their hands, and there's a trust factor there. They hold it. It's an important medium. And then they have this, consumers feel that now they are in charge of it. It's not pushed on them. They have control of whether they want
Right,
to.
because they can put it in the stack of things that are important, or the stack of things that are a little bit less important, but it's still in the stack
It's still in the stack.
for further attention. Right?
And they generally, mail items tend to stay in the home on average of 5 to 7 days. Emails get swiped within 5 to 7 seconds. Boom,
Right.
gone, boom, gone, if they even get there, because carriers are blocking them, consumers are blocking them. So but again, it really depends on the message. If it's a quick thank you, great. That's probably a great way to send a text. If it's an important message, probably you want to send that in paper. If an email with an established consumer with information is not as important, maybe that's an email. But it's an overall strategy we're looking at.
Right.
Your third audience member as a business owner is your regulatory and compliance, because every industry really has now more of a compliance issue that you have to meet, whether that's in the insurance industry, whether that's in financial services. So in a compliance piece, are you meeting a language barrier? State of New York, you must meet the language that the consumer has requested that you meet. Are you meeting that piece? Have you met the accessibility issue? Are you in large print? Have you met all these other pieces? There's so many issues in compliance that you have to meet. Print and mail can help you do that. We have the analytics to be able to do that. When you send in a file, we can help you manage that. We can help you manage that on the return. So it's all about managing the entire communication strategy, where I think years ago it was thought of more of just, here, I'm giving you stuff, print it and go away. Print it and go away. Where it has now evolved into your communication strategy partner. And many companies can't afford to have a communication strategist person on staff. They really need to be able to do this. It's very effective. It really streamlines processes. It puts them in control, but they don't have the expertise. Where do you get that? You partner with somebody who's done this, who knows how to do it, can guide you in what's doing it. Where years ago it was a push to say, I just want you to do this, and they would give you direction. Now I see my clients coming to us saying, I need your consultation. How do I best do this? And we can help them to sit down to say, I can help you with that data. This is how I can give you that information. This is how I would recommend you handling that communication strategy. This is how we can archive your data for you. This is how we can do those. As companies are consolidating, they are getting much more streamlined. How are you going to do that if you're not having somebody in your print room in the basement there anymore? Where are you keeping that data? Where are you keeping copies of those letters, so that if there is a lawsuit, that you have to have that information? If there's a compliance issue in your state, that you have to go back to those records, somebody's doing that for you. Because I can guarantee you probably do not have staff on hand that are your compliance experts, that are your regulatory experts, that are your accessibility experts, that are your forms experts, that are your communications experts. That's available to you if you partner with the right company that are.
Right.
And it's still an important medium, because that's where it's at. It's how you do that electronic delivery, how you do a print delivery, how you do a text delivery. Maybe it's not always the same. It's not one. It's the correct communication medium for what you're doing.
Well, you learn about your customer too, in a sense, right? Because if you start out with the mailed piece that has a QR code or a website, you'll know when the customer responds and that they got it, and you're offering them a vehicle to finish the transaction. But if the transaction never gets started, you'll know when the mail comes back if the address was bad or the information was bad, right? So you're able to really give a full circle solution. But print is really the hub of the wheel, so to speak.
Yes, it can be, absolutely, because that's where it starts, because many places, many states are requiring you to get authorization from the consumer of how they want to be communicated with. And print is still the least adverse to say, Linda, how would you like best to be communicated with? And so that, you have to be able to have that piece. And it starts a trust factor. So when you're partnering with any communication medium, and print and mail, you want to start to make sure you have somebody who is highly secure, both in terms of, a SOC 1, SOC 2, HIPAA high trust, all those types of pieces. And that's internal within the company, that they're handling your data at the highest levels, that they have the highest data security processes. But in terms of security, think about the consumer as well, that they have a trust factor, that when something comes in the mail, they know that it's not a phishing attempt. They're going to open that piece of mail without worrying that, like, oh, I don't know what this is. I didn't ask for this. They're going to open that piece without fear of what that is. And it puts them in control. Consumers love to feel and know that they are in control. Many companies now, and there's some very prominent insurance companies that now let the consumer pick what their due date is. So you open up the mail piece, you got this direct mail piece, you've won the client, and now they have that piece. So their consumers are bombarded with, all this email, this consumer fatigue. Now that you have this consumer, now you can put them in control that how they are going to respond to your message. Lots of them have been able to say, I want to get a paper copy of my statement, but I want to pay electronically. This puts the consumer in control of what's happening. This is how I want you to communicate with me, but I'm going to be in control in how I communicate back to you. So I'm putting this in control. The QR codes are great.
Right.
All of that puts in a good communication back to them, but controls how you're going to communicate with me. It turns the tables on companies and streamlines how they're doing that.
Yeah, I think that's, like I said before, you're really completing the circle.
Mm-hmm.
But along that circle, which is pretty cool, you're offering all these different options, and you're appealing to the taste of the customer, right?
Yes.
Because you may not be able to, you may know things, or your clients may know things like age and demographics, but you're never really sure how the customer is going to respond. You're giving them the electronic response, the mailed response. You got the stickiness of the written piece or the printed piece, right? And it's really just a holistic solution, which is interesting.
And that's where we need to be. It's the holistic solution. So not just one versus the other. It's really taking a look at who's my audience, what's the message I'm trying to deliver, what do I want them to do, and how do I move it forward? So it's all about the communication strategy and what are my tools that I can offer to them to get that done.
Yep.
How do I work through all of that? Is it a full print? Is it part print and part electronic? Is it transformation from some of my forms or printed copies to an electronic means, but then still have the option to be able to send them, pamphlets and booklets so they have that in their safe at home, so they have it. When there's a claim, they want that check, so they have that sense of security to know what that is. But they also want to be able to email. It's a holistic solution over the overall communication strategy to assure confidence and trust factor in your consumer.
Well, great segue into what I wanted to mention next,
Hey!
So we didn't even plan that.
Dun, 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 dun.
So, when you talk about, trustworthiness too, that's an important factor in dealing with your client too. That is Content Critical's client, in terms of technology and security around technology. It's kind of interesting that the chief technology officer or the chief information officer at a company like yours is really at the top of the food chain, because that person really needs to make sure that the gates are closed and the technology is up to date, and that the customer information is never lost or never let out where it shouldn't be. I mean, talk about, just give me your sense for, how does a CTO even sleep at night, frankly? And how do you work with the CTO to make sure that your customers are getting what they need and what they pay for?
Well, I came up, and I'm so happy I did when it was in its infancy, where you could have anything on the envelopes. I'm sure you remember, hey, if your phone number changed, write it here on the outside of the envelope. So that's where I started. And the first time we ever heard anything about, hey, you can't have that information on there, it was so long ago, and it came up really young. And if you came in today with all the regulations that are on there, it's overwhelming. Our CTO, John Slaney, is very well versed in this, and we've gotten all the certifications. So you're SOC 2. There's so many. You can be PCI compliant, meaning that you are meeting the requirements that if you get any credit card information, not all companies have to do that, and unless you're a credit card processor, but you have to maintain all of these certifications. So you have an SOC 1, SOC 2 audit that you have to maintain every year. And you go through each one of these all the time. HIPAA. HIPAA is healthcare data to make sure you're maintaining the standard of all the healthcare clients. So each one of these industries have their own industry standard that they're meeting. And basically it's saying that everything behind your firewall is staying safe and secure. So it's hard to maintain and stay on the standard of all of them, but once you meet that standard, then you are continually staying in audits and scrubs and everything else to make sure that you're not missing them. So obviously dual authentication whenever you sign in. So we make sure we maintain the highest data. You cannot get into our print room unless you have, a proper badge authority. You can't access any data unless you are by role. So if I'm not the proper person to be able to access this client's data, I can't get to the data. And so he's established these roles and for every person, and it's a standard in the industry, but let's maintain that piece. So once you maintain there and you get there and get through your audits, and then there's outside companies that audit you to ensure that you have those standards, and then you have to maintain them all the time. So there's lots of individual security standards as well that we maintain on a regular basis. Then we continually look forward to what all the GDPR and all the other security standards are, so that individuals' data is kept behind firewalls and then is never being sold, and our clients' data is always secure and there's never a breach.
Yeah, and one of the things you worry about too is, and you talked about compliance before, complying with all these different state privacy laws. There's no standard that applies across the country. There's no federal standard, right? So if you're going to be mailing to California, there's a different standard than there is from mailing to New York or some other state. And so, but the technology piece is applies across the board. You've got people trying to get in past your firewall all day, every day, right? So even the smallest vulnerability is going to cause you a problem.
Well, if we have the vulnerabilities where we're always checking for that one, and we have the highest technology to ensure that nobody can get in past our firewalls or get to access our client data at all. But in terms of the compliance issues with any states, so we can work with any of our clients to say, I don't want this being sent to the state of California. We can easily do state blocking. Or if it's going to California and we want this special text put on there, that's easy enough for us to do. So it's very unique and very easy to customize anything that our clients want to customize a message, no matter where it's going, to meet any of those compliance issues and laws for them. It's hard to maintain and keep track of what all those are because they change so frequently, but it's doable. And then we are flexible enough that as long as we understand your business rules, we can trigger on any of those requirements to make it unique. Remember I said that if you're sending this message to Linda,
right,
any of that can be done. Linda, we know you have a brown dog, and here's your brown dog information. Boom, we can pull out any trigger you want us to in your data, and we can customize that message specifically for Linda. So a direct mail piece is no longer blanketed to everybody on the block. It's specifically targeted to Linda, and then every follow-up message and that package for her is specifically for her. So direct mail is no longer what it used to be or what people thought it was. It's a targeted message for her. And then when you think through the life cycle of a consumer, now it's beyond that. It's now she's just not a prospect, if you will. Once you've been able to win her as a customer, now it's continuous messaging and cultivating her as a customer and
taking her through the life cycle, right, or the trail to whatever, completing whatever the transaction is.
Right? You have her as a life insurance, and then what do you know? Her kids need car insurance. You're adding her to car insurance and other things that might happen. She's just bought a second house, and she might need home insurance for that. It's about maintaining and good relationships as you would with anybody, with any client. But it can be now tracked through that. And it's an efficiency, and it's a whole communication life cycle process.
Well, I've often said before, and even on a couple of podcast episodes already, that the typical consumer doesn't really understand what you do and how well and how quickly you do it. I mean, I think, again, when I've talked to people outside the business and I ask them, how do you think your bills get paid? They visualize some files. They don't know what it is, but it's being sent to a copier type device. And it's printed, and then maybe somebody puts it in a folder, and then eventually stuffs an envelope. If they could only see the process, I mean, I'm not exactly sure how yours at Content Critical work, but I'm pretty sure I do. The idea that you're going to start with, say, a roll of paper that's 4 or 5 feet wide, up on a press, and behind the scenes, you're taking the data, you're merging it into the letters, and it's being printed at thousands of impressions a minute, sometimes two-sided, sometimes multicolor, cut, folded, stuffed, sealed, and in trays, within seconds. It's unbelievable to watch what you do.
It is, but the process really starts way before then. So the process really starts working with our clients on determining exactly what their business rules are, what that programming needs to be to ensure that message going to Linda or whoever it needs to be, the message they're trying to deliver is there. So it's really all about the planning, the understanding of what that print communication needs to be. So when we set it up with our programmers, with all of our customer service people, all that piece, so when we've done that and then their file comes in, it runs automatically and it goes so fast, because when they send us a file in the morning, it's ready to go that night. And that's really where the hard work comes in. It's all the work that's done there, that they've tested this, and it comes directly from their files. It runs in, all the conditional programming has been there. So when we see that file, we know it's going to California for Linda Woodward at this zip code, at this place. It's all standardized. It's been sorted, so it's so efficient. We've already done 3/4 of the work for the post office. It's put directly as they want. They've added any color. We know exactly how it's supposed to look in the page. The booklet's put together. All the colors been there. This is really done in working together with a team in partnership with our client, because our name is not on this piece of paper or this booklet when it goes out. It's their name on it. It really has to represent them. So we ensure that when this message goes out, it represents them to the best of everybody's ability. We want them to shine, because that's them going out there. It's not Content Critical Solutions' name on it. It is our client's name on it. So we put a lot of work into that. But when you think about the millions of impressions and everything that we get this file, we scrub it to make sure it's pristine, it's doing everything it needs to do. We merge that and have it look correctly on the piece of paper. We ensure that everything is there. We do another double check in the data file. We put the programming there to make sure, whether it's a single piece of paper it's printing front and back, or if it's a 30-page booklet on somebody's new welcome package to their insurance company, it goes through another check. It's put together into a document composition tool. It's sent to a print queue. And then it's sent to our production floor, only after it's been through those approvals. Then, in that time, then it's printed, processed, inserted, and out to delivery within 24 hours.
Now, don't make the tech people seem so important, even though they are, because the people on the print floor are also important.
It does, but it is. The print
point's
production
excellent.
floor is really important, but I think what gets overlooked, like, oh, you just push a file and it magically happens.
Yeah,
There's a
don't
lot of
anything
work
about
that's
that.
happening, because if anything goes wrong there, whatever goes wrong in the process flow will show up on your production floor. So it's so critically important. We work very hard with our clients to ensure that what's going to happen is happening on the production floor. The production floor is also your last line of defense to make sure that everything's looking great. And they work very hard on having that too. So we can run those, million impressions, whatever it looks like, how it's going to be sliced and diced, and whether that's on the roll, going, full run, front back, duplex, printed, however you want to configure it, has already been decided when that file comes in. So when it comes in, we're not figuring out then how to do it. It's all done automatically. So when our clients decide to push that file to us, it's already done.
You're ready to go.
Yep. So you get that file on Tuesday, it's being mailed by Wednesday morning.
I wanted to finish up, Linda, just by highlighting the last piece of the circle, so to speak, and that is, motivating further action or future action by a customer. What are some of the things you think about in terms of how you put your pieces together, or how you print things, or how you arrange them to maximize that future action, other than creating a something on paper or something on a medium that's going to last in the household? What are some of the other things you think about, and how you plan to make sure that customers are more likely to respond?
Well, you can do that in several ways. A lot of times people will just come to us with, here's the text we want to use. It's really about using, again, we've talked a lot about a communication strategy. It's also about how you're going to lay that out on the page.
Right.
And many times our clients will already have the design they want to use, but we can also work with them in terms of how you're going to lay that out on a page. Are you using icons to say, and here's how the best way to get your payment faster? Are you using an icon to show them, here's how you can go to a QR code for payment? Here's visual directions on how to use that. How do you want to lay that out better? Are you working with your print and mail provider to get the best design to minimize the number of pages? Are you looking for that type of thing to be able to do that? Because if you work with your print and mail provider as a partner, they're going to, in the early on stages, they're going to help you to be able to get the best design and show you how to do that, versus waiting to the very end and say, oh, how come we have all this in here? We didn't need these 8 blank pages. Or just have them come back to you to say, if you want to do this, it's going to be a customized piece, versus this is what I want to do. How can you help me do this in the most effective and efficient process? And they will be more than happy to do that for you, because they're professionals at what they're doing. Again, they're the communications experts. They've been doing this for a long time, and they will be able to help you to say, this is the best design. This is what's going to help you do this the most effective way. Consumers are going to look at it here. You want to put your address blocks here. This is the best way to process it. This is going to reduce your processing time, highest quality, best response rates. They know that. Get them involved early on in the process. Remember who your audience is, what you're going to ask them to do, what do you need out of this information, and who you need to report that to, because your print and mail provider can give you that information. They can give you the analytics you need. They can provide that back to you in an efficient way that will work with your system and be a good partner to you.
Those are great suggestions for sure. And just again, the most important thing is emphasizing how important print is in our lives, because if not for print, all we would have is the electronic stuff, and we know how effective it can or ineffective it can be,
Yeah.
for sure. So I wholeheartedly agree that, something that you can touch and feel and see, and, the empowerment of the customer, I thought is so important too.
It is. It really is, because, and with the change, and we have new tools that are coming in the future, where everyone's talking about AI. Great. AI is going to be a great tool for us to use in the future, and even in the print world. But AI is only as good right now as the people that are trained to use it. So where are we going with it, with that? And the consumers, where are they going to? Consumers want to be included. How are you going to include them? How are you going to get them involved in the process? And print is a great way to include them, because electronic means are wonderful for quick messages, but print is an effective message for something that's really of importance to get to them. If you have a really important message that is of critical importance to them, that has to be housed, that's still the most effective medium. You really need to balance that out, though, on what you're, because one way anymore isn't the way to have a communication strategy that's effective for all consumers.
Right, it's not complete at
Right.
the end of the day, right?
But again, just to sum up, print is the hub of the wheel, isn't it?
It still is.
For
It
sure.
still is.
Well, thanks to people like you in the industry, it definitely is, for sure. Well, that's a great way to sum up for today. So, Linda Woodward, thank you so much. Just to remember for everybody, Linda Woodward is the Senior Vice President of Strategic Solutions at Content Critical Solutions. I really love the chance to chat with you today, so thanks for coming
It's
by.
been wonderful. Thank you so much.
Thanks. And just to close out, again, this is the Think Factory podcast powered by OGC Solutions. We'll see you next time.